Many of us don't nurture from quietness, we nurture from anxiety. Like somebody said, when there is a lot of light, there is going to be a big dark shadow right below that light. See, technology is necessary because it scales information. But nurturing, what does that scale? It scales wisdom, it scales compassion. Whenever we have too much of tamasic quality, we are tapping into animal qualities and asura qualities in us. If head provides the discernment and the clarity, heart provides the compassion and the connection, and hands translate intention into action. Only the nurturing which we are talking about only becomes conscious and complete when these three work together. Harmony begins with listening without any agenda. Inner child grows with gentleness and the joy. And, if we can create small joys, if we can be more self-accepting, if we can forgive ourselves more easily, rest when it is needed, and these simple acts can awaken self-love.
Dr. Prasad Kaipa is the co-founder of the Institute of Indic Wisdom, board member, retired CEO, coach and advisor. He is a renowned thought leader in the world of innovation and leadership development, having coached Fortune 500 companies, entrepreneurial ventures, students, and also people in the regular local life who may be very away from the corporate world. He's touched lives via coaching, mentoring, authoring international bestseller books, research and articles, speaking at TED Talk events, etc., on a variety of subjects. I am deeply inspired by his spirit to ignite the genius in humans by connecting business with spirituality and neuroscience. What a fascinating space to be in. Sir is educating the world on some very interesting topics which are increasingly becoming more and more important. He talks about how to find your true north, advises Gen Zs through podcasts, guides on how to find meaning in life, and so many more ideas. In my eyes, however, Dr. Prasad Kaipa is a rare blend of a scientist, storyteller, and a sage. And while going through his website, I found a particular statement which felt like an aha moment that made me realize that Sir is the right person to connect to discuss on this topic. It said that Dr. Prasad Kaipa loves photography and nature, and when he is not taking photographs, he is directing educational institutions, is into executive coaching and education programs around innovation and leadership development, and that seemed like a sign from the universe. I asked him about his journey, and this is what he beautifully said.
I am an integrator. That means I pick a particular theme, I go deeper and deeper into it, and I'll go back to what are called first principles. So because of that, when I go to first principles and try to interconnect, they are not divided nicely into physics or spirituality or computers or any of them, but it all comes down to because I'm focusing on a human being and human beings' connection to nature, connection to each other, and how a human being can be effective with technology, can understand the world through physics and mathematics and all of them. It all comes down to one topic. It is about human development. So I say everything what I'm doing is about human development. But within that, how does the human development take place with the tools like AI or computers or phones becomes one topic which I studied for a while. And then I realized that you can have as many tools and technology as possible, but if the human being herself or himself is not open to looking inside, the inner wisdom, the inner field and inner development is going to be much more important than skills and knowledge and tools and technology and money and accomplishment in the outer world. So I'm trying to see how we can bridge the inner development and outer development. So that's all I'm trying to do. In that context, whatever topics I need to learn and understand and interconnect, I'm connecting that.
Namaste everyone. Hello and welcome back to your channel. I'm Richa and I'm consciously creating today. Well, I have Dr. Prasad Kaipa. Namaste once again, sir. Welcome to our channel.
Thank you.
So, sir, coming to the topic of nurturing, like I mentioned in the beginning, I had one of these doubts very early on when I selected this topic. That is nurturing something that we do, or is it something that we are? Is it like, say, an act, or is it just a state of being, or is it some energy that we connect to and work accordingly? So, sir, help me understand that, please. How does this play out?
I would say nurturing has got 3 layers. At the most basic level, it's an act. We teach, or we encourage, or we support. As the awareness expands, the nurturing becomes a state of being. So that means our presence itself feels safe and grounding to other people. And in the book which I wrote long time ago, in 2006, actually that was the first book which I wrote, called Discontinuous Learning. What I felt was that nurturing becomes the energy field that we co-create. And so I talk about how leaders create the transformational experiences, not by giving instructions or giving talks, but by holding a space of acceptance to other people, by being vulnerable themselves, and by creating possibilities for other people, or by being curious. So when we enter that kind of a field, people unfold like flowers in sunlight. So nurturing becomes from doing to being and to becoming a field of transformation.
That's wonderfully said, sir. I was actually imagining a flower blooming as you were talking. So thank you for that. In line with what you just said, sir, so with an expanded state of awareness, how can we as individuals practice nurturing in such a way that it truly becomes an act of transformation and can actually add value to the person in front of us or the people around us, and also within ourselves, right? Because we are also awakening ourselves.
So I would call that as a self-nurturing, if you want to call it. Because we need to nurture ourselves. Because that kind of self-nurturing creates the inner soil for awareness. So without that kind of a self-nurturing, learning becomes mechanical. So with self-nurturing, learning becomes transformative. So that is what I would say, first of all, the role of nurturing the self. And if you want me to give you longer answer, I would say, I'm writing a paper called Spiral of Love. When I talk about it, it essentially, any kind of our ability to love others begin with, first of all, ability to love ourselves. We cannot love ourselves without nurturing ourselves. Because nurturing shows up as accepting first. Self-acceptance. Then the second part of it will become self-belief. Not only I need to accept myself, I need to believe in myself. Especially when there are difficult times, like right now, a lot of people are struggling with jobs or opportunities, or variety of uncertainties are showing up for people. So if you do not believe that you can get it, and if you lose hope, if you lose belief, self-esteem becomes an issue, self-confidence becomes an issue. And so that is something that is a second way of nurturing ourselves. And the third way of nurturing ourselves is bringing compassion to ourselves. We all make mistakes. We all really mess it up. But if we do not forgive ourselves, self-forgiveness is another way of nurturing ourselves. If we don't, judge, if we can be compassion, create a compassionate space, if you want to call it, in ourselves, and if we can see ourselves without judgment, that expands the awareness from survival, where inner safety was questioned, now to curiosity. Then we go from how do I improve so that I can survive or I can keep myself in this job so that I don't get fired. How can I stop, hunker down so that I don't get fired first. From there, you go to, what is this moment teaching me? That is where I think deep and discontinuous kind of learning part of it begins in us. So
I just have a point to that. So is it the same as what you normally refer to as the generative field of inner transformation? Could it be linked
you
to that?
can say, see, if I talk about generative field of transformation, I found there are 4 fields we operate in. What you call, to a certain extent, if I use the original terms in Sanskrit, one is called avidya kshetram, where we are all over the map, we are broken up into various kinds of things, and then we are getting confused and we are having inner conflict, and we don't know what is true, whether this is correct, that is correct, whether this teacher said is correct, whether what this book wrote is correct. So we have a lot of confusion and a certain chaotic state of mind. That is what is called avidya kshetram. And at that time, when we have a lot of collisions of ideas and confusion, the most important part we need to get to next is called finding our dharma. Dharma will give us purpose, it will give us meaning, it will do more than cognitive understanding. It will give us inner quietness. Because we are on the path of dharma, then we can move forward with a certain amount of life, enlivening state of mind. So then we can be in a comfortable, enlivened space, and whoever is in our life also, we bring that peace and we bring that enlivening to other people. The third field is what you call a dhyana kshetram. Dharma alone is not enough. We have to actually pay attention, sit there and make that dharma our own. We need to discover our own unique swadharma and meditate on that swadharma so that we can grow in that dharma. That I call it coherent field. So the idea of coherent field, why do we call dhyana kshetra as a coherent field? Because the kaya vacha manasa, there is a trikarana suddhi that takes place. There is an alignment that takes place that brings coherence, like a laser-like coherence. Various things go, it becomes like a light wave becomes monochromatic. In physics, we get single frequency. And with that single frequency, it doesn't diverge, it doesn't spread out, it stays completely coherent. So that is why it is called coherent field or dhyana kshetram. Then what you called as a generative field is the fourth field. That is where we are most creative. That is where maximum innovation comes up, and we are in a place of generativity. The Sanskrit word for it is called Satchidananda Kshetram. Sat, Chit, Ananda, all the three are present. So to a certain extent, there is no you. At some level, you can say, when you are in Satchidananda Kshetram, actually you are in place of grace. There is a place where you are being a very powerful reflection, or you're being a channel. In that channel, if the Brahman, or if goddess, or if consciousness, if God, divine, if grace shows up in you, then you are not acting like Richa, or I'm not acting like Prasad. We become the channels of communication of higher truths. And those higher truths coming through us is what is called creativity.
Okay.
And so, because any creativity that comes through, something new, something innovative, something generative to the world, that means there is some, grace. That divine grace allows for us to articulate it. And when it may be articulated through your mouth or my mouth, but when both of us start exploring and digging deeper into what is articulated, we all learn from there. So that is what you call a generative field. Generative field is where, it can be co-creation. If both people are in a beautiful dialogue, where both are really not looking at like somebody is the expert, but somebody is the channel through which the truth comes out. And if both people become receptive to, being open, then generative field becomes co-creative field. That's what I experienced and I found.
That's beautifully put, sir. I could just get a feel of all that you were saying as you were saying it. So that means that somewhere I could relate to the energy that you're putting out. And then it was wonderful to experience it. Thank you. So speaking of energy, we are all aware of the yin and yang aspect of energy, the feminine and the divine feminine and the divine masculine forms.
Prakruti-Purusha, we call it in Sanskrit.
Prakruti-Purusha, yes. So how does this play out in the act of nurturing, or how does nurturing rather show itself in the form of these energies?
Okay. I'll step back into the previous question and build the answer to this. See, we talked about generative field. If you were to really look at a generative field, that is where, if I take away the divine part of it, if I say, if I were to represent the grace or some of it as consciousness, you have consciousness, you have compassion and love, and creativity, they come together, right? That is the space in which the transformation naturally unfolds. That's why you call it generative field. Now you are asking the next question. The masculine and feminine, the yin and the yang, or Prakriti and Purusha, how do they shape nurturing? I would say the Prakriti, the feminine energy, is the warm, flowing care. Okay? It becomes the vessel, it becomes the womb in which something is nurtured and taken care of. Whereas the Purusha becomes the witnessing, clear witnessing presence. So, to a certain extent, the role of Prakriti is to bring that warmth and that embrace. And the Purusha brings clarity and the intelligence and the witnessing presence. The nurturing is their harmony. So if I want to put it simply, right? But we need to elaborate. So Prakriti becomes the mother-like warmth. And Purusha becomes the awareness and the spaciousness. Okay? So if it becomes too much Prakriti, not enough Purusha, it suffocates. If I were to have too much Purusha, too much masculinity, but not enough femininity, then it becomes detached. It becomes emotionless. So the true nurturing which you are asking is a dance of both. So you can say something like love with clarity, presence with compassion, leading with the heart, deciding with the mind, discernment from the mind,
Mm.
and but the relating with the heart. So this kind of a two essential ways they work together, because ultimately Prakriti is the creative or emotional, or you might even call the fundamental nurturing force in Indian context is Prakriti.
Mm.
Purusha is much more of a witnessing kind, a discerning kind, a spacious awareness. Like we talk about something like even in the Ananta Padmanabha Swami, or when you talk about the god forms, the Vishnu is lying down on the Seshanagu, the serpent, divine serpent Adisesha, and he is in Yoga Nidra. He is happily with a smiling, closed eyes image you see. Then Lakshmi is sitting at the feet. She is the CEO of the universe. She is the nurturing mother. And only when she wants something, that intelligence, when she desires it, immediately the witnessing awareness of Vishnu will provide what it provides. But actually all nurturing gets taken care of by Lakshmi. So this kind of a stuff happens even in the Shiva Shakti metaphor. We talk about the same thing. Shakti nurtures. But Shakti without Shiva becomes explosive, destructive, like Kali. Whereas Shiva without Shakti cannot nurture, he becomes Shava. Shava means dead body.
Yes.
Right. So you might say both are needed, because Shiva without Shakti, Shakti without Shiva doesn't exist. It's all one and the same. So when nurturing, Prakriti becomes protective and emotional. Without that, Purusha is very distant, very clinical, very cognitive. There is no emotion. So because you use the word conscious nurturing, that arises only when these two energies flow together. That is probably the best way you can think about it. Wisdom and compassion, both are needed for nurturing.
It's like an interplay of both, and then also a fine balance between both the energies that every individual should seek to bring within themselves.
Exactly. So the warmth infused with the wisdom, clarity infused with compassion, heart connected with head. So that integration makes nurturing both safe on one side, it provides the safety, and also liberating in terms of because of the intelligence. So the range becomes more. So it is like suddenly the entire universe becomes our field of dance.
This is amazing to just visualize as well. I have said this, I think, for the third time in the conversation, but as you speak, I am visualizing, Ma Lakshmi sitting there and Lord Vishnu, and the concepts of Shiv and Shakti. It's beautifully put by you, sir. Thank you. Sir, we spoke about nurturing being also an act of transforming others. So let's talk about this. Can you give us some experience from your own journey where nurturing led to creating something really different and something that was not expected, maybe in an individual or an organization or a team, and it was truly transformational in the real sense? Any such experience from your career or life that you may want to share?
I can think about actually, myself, where I had been doing these transformation programs for a long time. One program I was running in February 2019, I was actually listening to and actually watching a video, because we were doing interview with Arvind Eye Care. And I have about 35 CEOs and senior executives who are attending a leadership program in Indian School of Business. So I'm facilitating that conversation. As a part of it, we had the Arvind Eye Care, one of the executives, was presenting how they deal with nurturing, and helping people to get rid of their eye issues. And the Dr. V, who started the eye care, they had put a small video. And in that video, Dr. V was talking to an old woman who is probably in her 70s or 80s. And she's a day worker, makes like, a few rupees, not even 100 rupees per day. And her cataract was becoming an issue. So they actually, she could not leave her job and come, but they created a bus and they brought her in to get it checked up. And Dr. V was looking at her and said, he asked her, what would you like me to do? One eye is ripe for cataract surgery, another eye is not. And by the way, we could do A, B, C, D. She says, sir, you brought me and actually, I didn't even know that I have cataract. And you are telling me that I need to do this. And you are helping me, you are giving me all the choices. But what do I know about making these choices? You are doing it. You make the best choice for me. And Dr. V turns and says, I don't know who is nurturing whom. Because I'm trying to provide the eye care for her, but she gives her entire life to my hands and say, you make the decision. So should I be greedy and say, I will make more money if I offer her these choices or something else? Or how can I need to bring in my mothering attitude and do the best I can provide. And of course, for all these people, we provide free care. And so he says, every patient I see, they are transforming me. Actually, I am becoming a better doctor. I'm being a better human being because I'm doing the work that I'm doing. I have watched the tape at least 20, 30 times. And because every program, 3 times a year, we were doing it. And we have done it for about 15 years, that program. So 40 times, 50 times, I have watched that video. But at that particular time, when I listened to it, it became very clear to me, am I acting like that doctor with that patient, with these participants? I'm teaching them transformation. When is the last time I went through transformation myself? Next thing I know, after that interview was over, it was at 10:20. 10:30 I went and I resigned and I said to the dean saying, this is the last program I'm doing. I'm retiring. And then I called my coaches, the companies where I was doing executive coaching, big money, just stopped. And from then onwards, that was February 19th, 2019. After that, I completely retired. Because when you think about nurturing, that means nurturing essentially is about opening the heart. And it is about changing the heart. It is not changing the mind, even though we say, oh, his mind was changed. But if just the mind changes, it doesn't become a transformation. If the heart opens and leads to change in the mind, then the mind will never go back to the same place anymore. So we talk about mindset, but it is actually the heart set that needs to be transformed. And for me, that was one situation. So it is now 6.5 years. I have not taken a single penny for myself after that. It just opened up for me. So how did that happen? Where did the nurturing take place? In some respects, the nurturing took place by the participants, by this video, by this Arvind group to me, while I'm nurturing them. So in some respects, when there is a transformative effect for nurturing, only nurturing happens. It doesn't matter who is nurturing whom. It, it becomes a field in which both people will get transformed. And that is what happened for me.
Oh, that's amazing, sir. In fact, I was just thinking about it. So this is very much akin to, saying that the receiver receives more than they give. And the energy itself is transformative and creates an encompassing sort of a layer for both of them to experience it and also practice it in day-to-day life. That's so wonderfully good. So you mentioned about change of heart that needs to
Yeah.
happen, and more often than not we see that people struggle to have this fine balance between the heart and the mind and what they are exactly doing in their lives. uh, is there a possibility for a person to over nurture, say something like over watering a plant and not having a complete understanding of where to strike that balance between conscious detachment and then nurturing? So how does one develop the sensitivity for this, wherein we understand that okay, there needs to be a balance and this is where I need to stop the process?
I think your metaphor of over nurturing, of like a over watering a plant, is a dead on one because it suffocates growth. Majority of the times in our gardens, the trees don't grow. In our home, plants don't grow, not because there is not enough water, because there is too much water. So there is even a, caring is good, but over caring suffocates people. And so that is what we call a over mothering. Instead of just mothering, it becomes smothering. Right? Many of us don't nurture from quietness, we nurture from anxiety. Why? We want to protect, we want to fix, we want to guide them where we want them to go. But because your word is a lot more about conscious nurturing, conscious creating, so the conscious nurturing involves discernment. So that means you can't just say, my heart is completely open, I'm going to do it. The head needs to come into the picture also. The head brings the discernment to say, it steps in when the presence helps. And when it steps back when the too much involvement, when our presence became, it is limiting other person's autonomy. Something like, is my nurturing empowering them, or is it making them dependent on me? So, because true conscious nurturing gives freedom to people, not attachment.
Wow. Yes. I think that's so beautifully put. And I think most of us forget this, that freedom is essentially what puts you in a space where you can also perform at your best. Let's talk about what the ancient Indian wisdom has to say about nurturing, sir. So could you just give us some insight into that?
What we found, the way in which we interpret it at Institute of Indic Wisdom, there are four essential elements that make Indic wisdom to be unique.
Hmm.
And nurturing those four will help us to create a conscious culture.
Hmm.
Okay, what are those? The dharma. Why? Dharma gives alignment between what I do and what other people around me do, because it gives you a direction. It gives you a certain, like a magnet. If the magnet is around, it gives you north-south clarity for all the iron filings around it.
Hmm.
So they are all aligned in the same direction.
Hmm.
So same way, if you were to look at dharma gives you knowledge, it gives you value, and the right alignment comes from dharma.
Hmm.
alignment to the truth, alignment to some other. How do you measure that alignment? It is through the joy, because the effortlessness. When you are aligned to Dharma, then as the Dharma moves, you move forward. So you don't have to do too much of extra work. So that means all the struggles that we have only come because we are not aligned to either our Swadharma or into the Samaja Dharma. We are not doing it. That's why we struggle. But once our growth and our actions are moving the universe forward, the society forward, then it becomes effortless and it generates inner joy, ananda, not just happiness. So ananda can be a metric to know how aligned are we to Dharma. The third one is to recognize that we are interdependent. I cannot do whatever I want to do unless there are other people who are helping me or who are taking me forward or challenging me to see the gaps in my thinking or questioning me to see whether I am practicing what I preach. All of them, while it looks negative, if I am willing to take it constructively, if I am willing to take it consciously, all criticism does is it helps me to become whole. Like somebody said, when there is a lot of light, there is going to be a big dark shadow right below that light. So where do you have the shadow? Right under the light. So that means the shadow and the light are interdependent and together, and that togetherness of the darkness and the light is what is called Purnam. That is the wholeness. That wholeness is acknowledged only in the Indic wisdom. Because in the Western wisdom, for example, Lucifer used to be he got the name Lucifer because he showed light to the God. So he was going ahead of the God and he was showing light. But somewhere he thought, oh, I'm showing the light to the God. That means I'm more powerful than God. And then, of course, he fell to the underworld, netherworlds. And he became the anti-God. But of course, we talk about God being omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient. But in some of the other religious mythologies, the Lucifer stays outside of the purview of the God. Whereas in the Indian wisdom, the nurturing goes all the way to the demons as well, asuras as well. As a matter of fact, we say whenever we have too much of tamasic quality, we are tapping into animal qualities and asura qualities in us. When we are bringing lot of sattvic qualities, we are bringing daivic gunas. Daivi asuri gunas are talked about in Bhagavad Gita. There is a whole chapter. I think chapter 16 is the Daiva Asura Gunas. Sampatti, they call it. Daiva Asura Sampatti Kshetra. So the idea is that we need to recognize between the tamasic, which is Asuri Gunas, between the sattvic, which are Daiva Gunas, as human beings, we have a lot of Rajasic Guna and we need to integrate all of them. So the Indic wisdom basically says, Dharma gives alignment, Ananda gives you the metric and the joy, intrinsic joy. It helps you to get to the place. The Purnam gives you the wholeness, interdependence. We are never by ourselves. We are, I am part of my family. My family is part of the community. Community is part of the city. City is part of the country. It goes on. This is what is called, Arthur Kessler calls it a whole on. We are a whole on. We are neither full, we are not whole, we are not part. We are both. I'm whole as a human being, but I'm part of something larger. So I'm whole part. Together is called whole on. So That is what Purnatvam gives, interdependence and whole. Then there is a fourth word which is very important. It is called Tattvam. Tattva means your authenticity, your true nature. Tattvamasi is a statement called Mahavakya. Thou art that. What is that? Who you think you are. Tat Tvam Asi. Tat means that. Tvam means you, Asi. That you are. What is that you are? That consciousness, nameless, formless, infinite, all-powerful one is you. Of course, there is also another statement, Aham Brahmasmi. I am also Brahman. You are also Brahman. So to a certain extent, when we pay attention to your authentic access to divine, my authentic connection to divine, they are different. They are based on our gunas, they are based on our actions, they are based on our bhavas. So we become younger, older, masculine, feminine, strong, weak, knowledgeable, not knowledgeable. So our individuality, our tattvam, our true nature is divine. But on the true nature, we have a lot of clothes and makeup and various other things that form us to be who we are. So these four essentially cultivate to a certain extent all the nurturing that we need. So you can even say nurturing cultivates these four qualities in individuals and also in communities. So when a culture supports that alignment rather than compliance, then you can say it's a dharmic culture. When that culture supports joy rather than stress, then you can say there is a lot of ananda, gross national happiness, like Bhutan measures, we can do it. And when we pay attention to wholeness than fragmentation, all people flourish, not just one group or the other. And finally, when we pay attention to authenticity instead of the roles or the races or ranks or whom I know or whatever, caste, whatever you want to call, when we do that, then each person, whatever they bring, becomes valuable and meaningful and part of that conscious culture. So those cultures don't depend upon rules, but they depend upon shared meaning and love.
So, if we want to make nurturing a wholesome and a holistic experience, how do we make use of the head, heart, and hands? I remember you talking about this in one of your talks, and it really intrigued me to get to know more on this subject. So I would love to hear from you.
Clarity of the head, compassion of the heart, wise action of the hands, together make nurturing complete. That's a quick 20-minute beat, if I can say. But if I want to elaborate it, I would say head guides us with wisdom. Right? So discernment, we call buddhi or viveka or some of that type of stuff. So that is what the gnana comes from. Certain aspect of conceptual or framework or philosophy, all of that, you can say the domain of the head. Heart connects with love, warmth, compassion. So you can also say heart is the center of bhakti. Bhakti is another word for love. Right? Then let's see what head and heart. Oh, third one, action. The hands. Hands are about karma. Karma is the action. So, if head provides the discernment and the clarity, heart provides the compassion and the connection, and hands translate intention into action. Only the nurturing which we are talking about only becomes conscious and complete when these three work together. That means think clearly, feel deeply, act wisely.
So in today's world, we are seeing a lot of dichotomy, and there's a lot of polarity that one experiences, and the world seems to be enmeshed within it, right? So one side you have technology which says that, oh, we are connecting everyone virtually, and yet we feel that we are so fragmented and disconnected from one another. And
Right. We are.
more so from also the point of view of being disconnected with our own selves. And
Yes.
sir,
So much so. Yeah.
yeah. And as a millennial, I can say this that, this is my personal feeling that our generation is struggling to understand the real meaning of relationships, how to nurture them, how to prioritize them, and how to manage them effectively. So, sir, how can we cultivate harmony in relationships?
Of course, harmony begins with listening without any agenda. Right?
Mm,
That's the
mm,
simplest way where we need to start. So, if I want to say more, the polarity, the conflict, the 2 points fighting,
mm,
the polarity softens when we stop trying to fix it,
mm,
when we start trying to understand it. So, in that respect, you might say listening itself is nurturing.
mm,
Why is that? Because we live in a very polarized world, right?
mm, mm,
The, the polarity becomes partnership
mm,
only when we listen deeply to each other.
mm.
So, when we can do open listening without agenda, as I mentioned, if we do that, it dissolves defensiveness. And if we can pass our judgment and open space for you and for other person's reality, then connection emerges much more naturally. So nurturing relationships will essentially help me to understand much more than winning. It creates a long-term partnership.
So then, how do we nurture the inner child within us? That also will lead to a lot of awareness about ourselves.
So, inner child grows with gentleness and the joy. And, if we can create small joys, if we can be more self-accepting, if we can forgive ourselves more easily, rest when it is needed, and these simple acts can awaken self-love. So, as I said earlier, self-acceptance, self-belief, and self-compassion, these three are very important for us to tap into our inner child. What does that inner child represent? Our innocence, our creativity, our vulnerability, So, all of these, if you want to nurture, you need gentle nature. So, the gentleness to take ourselves kindly, celebrating, as I said earlier, small victories, small joys, and forgiving mistakes of not only other people, but forgiving ourselves is much harder for many people. Self-critical nature, Radio San Juan keeps playing really loud for many people, right?
Yes.
So we need to honor ourselves. We need to honor our emotional needs. And when we care for our inner child, we can reclaim our playfulness and self-compassion. And, obviously, it becomes a lot easier to love other people when we don't abandon ourselves somewhere on the way.
That's so beautifully said. That really touched my heart. Thank you. So now let's look at the role of nurturing in the leadership context. You've coached so many leaders and executives across industries and across management cadres. So, in your experience, what does nurturing look like in a leadership and innovation context?
Okay, maybe leaders who nurture create safer teams, safer playgrounds, safer organizations. Why is that important? The employee engagement continues to be in 30s. In majority of the countries, in 64 countries that they have measured, in 1600 to 1700 organizations they have measured, employee engagement, people who are highly engaged are only between 30 to 40%.
Yes.
Right? And another 20 to 30% are just barely managing. And there are about 10% who are actively going against their organizations.
Mm.
Only thing you need to do is you need to make more people who are disengaged to become engaged. Right? And for that, nurturing will play big role. So you create a safe space for people to tell the truth, safe space for people to be asking questions, so that curiosity, when the curiosity is encouraged, creativity and innovation thrives. So, like a psychological safety becomes extremely important.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean for leaders? Appreciate effort of people, not just the outcome.
Mm.
Allow people to make mistakes. Allow people to be more vulnerable.
Mm.
And water curiosity in your organization, because that leads to innovation.
Wow. Amazing, sir. So every generation has its own way of learning and doing things. And we see that with the advent of AI and so many other technology platforms as well. It seems that we are heavily relying only on technology to build our learning and development systems and processes. How can organizations create a culture for nurturing wherein everybody, like you said, feels safe, feels valued, and there's a common language of understanding that everyone can assimilate at the same time?
See, technology is necessary because it scales information.
Mm-hmm.
But nurturing, what does that scale? It scales wisdom, it scales compassion.
Mm.
We need both.
Mm.
There are two things which we talk about. One is we need efficiency and productivity. For that, digital tools and technology tools are very necessary and meaningful.
Mm.
But on the other hand, there is, in addition to efficiency, we also need connection,
Mm.
the human rituals, and mentoring circles, reflection passes, if you want to call gratitude practices. So, in a tech-driven world, learning becomes much more, transactional, lot more transactional. But to build a nurturing culture, you have to do more than transactions. You have to build the digital scale with a human heart, human depth.
Mm-hmm.
And that means you not only use technology for access and speed, but also create community practices, Zoom-based community, learning circles, dialogue circles, reflection circles, mentoring. You can do it through technology. So then people don't have to be in the same room at the same time, but they can be on a, for meaning creation, for connection, for learning. So the cultures thrive if both technology systems and human systems converge. Because one provides capability and other provides humanity, the heart.
Wonderfully put, sir. So, just in line with that, I had a question that was just there up in my mind. Everyone is talking about the future of work, but very few people are talking about the future of humans at work. So, in that context, so how do we build nurturing in a way that there's a fine balance between growth and grace, and what is it that we can do in our daily life? Say, starting today, what are the things that we can do to build leaders who nurture, if I can put it that way?
See, AI can analyze. These days, AI can also empathize.
Yes.
But AI cannot bring presence. AI is pretty much, you are bringing intelligence to it. I don't believe the AI will ever actually, become self-actualized, or it suddenly becomes much more capable. It will have the brain, but the heart we need to provide. And so, because the nurturing provides empathy, compassion, presence, attunement, relationship, these are what we need to bring in. AI cannot do this. Technology cannot do that. We need to become the custodians of emotional intelligence and nurturing, relational wisdom, compassion. Nurturing becomes a defining human capability in the age of AI, if you want to put it properly.
So I think that brings me to the end of the long format of questions. We just have one more segment, which is like a rapid fire round. I've named it as Snap to Self, wherein you're, sort of giving a snap and giving the answer. And also giving a snap to the self.
Sure.
In terms of, one, of course, the immediate response that comes to your mind. And secondly, as worldly wisdom put into a, like a short or a small nugget for people to think upon. So,
Sure.
so sir, I'll just give you a couple of options or maybe one line questions, and then you need to give me the quick answer. So can we begin, sir?
Sure.
So, and you have to do it with me. So when I snap and ask the question, you have to snap and give me the answer. Okay?
Okay. Sounds
So,
good.
one word to describe nurturing.
Love.
Mind or heart? Who nurtures first?
Heart.
One habit all leaders must nurture.
Relationships.
Nurturing ideas or nurturing people? Choose one.
You nurture people and people nurture ideas.
One question you ask yourself when mentoring someone.
Am I listening? Am I paying attention to where they are?
Mhm. One thing that leaders do unconsciously which kills the energy of nurturing.
They stop paying attention.
One grounding practice you follow.
Okay. One thing which I follow is silence and listen. I need to listen without judgment, and I need to listen without any what you call bias of my own.
All right.
I need to be a total mirror where there is only thing that is shown in that mirror is you.
Wow, that's amazing. If nurturing was a muscle, what was the what's the best way to strengthen it?
If nurturing is the muscle, you play, you use it. You use your heart a lot.
Mhm. What do you do or what do you turn to when you feel depleted?
When I feel depleted, I meditate. I silently, quietly, I go in nature, I do walking meditation, or I go for long, quiet way of being in nature.
Wow. And the last one then, sir, what are you consciously creating today?
Nurturing you, nurturing me, and making the nurturing the most important part today.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir.